Hello again, whiskey friends. Thanks for joining, everybody. And am I the only one out there that kind of thinks Weller Foolproof sucks? Of all the new SKUs that have come out in recent years, something about the Weller Foolproof never struck me right. And I went through about 3 or 4 different single barrels, all of which I was very underwhelmed with. But then in my memory, I love Weller Antique and I love Weller Antique single barrels. So, what was the benefit of the extra proof with the foolproof to begin with? Other than just having another Infinity Stone for Thanos' gauntlet. But I am going to put my perceptions to the test today, comparing my favorite Weller Foolproof single barrel to date to a single barrel of Weller Antique given to me by our good friend Jonathan. So let's see if I'm consistent or if I look like a fool by the end of this. So thank you for joining me, whiskey friends. Let's kick off the show. All right, so I have these two blinded up. We're going to put A and we're going to put B on these glasses. Before the difference in these two brands, they're both coming from the exact same weeded mash bill over there at Buffalo Trace. Now, Weller Antique or Weller 107 has been around for decades, but the Foolproof just came out in 2019. What is also interesting about the Foolproof is that I've actually never gotten to taste or see a foolproof that wasn't a pick. They do a foolproof that is a blend, but I've never come across it now in these last 6 years. In terms of my experience, this is about the 5th Weller foolproof single barrel that I have owned, and the one in today's flight is the only one that I've ever liked. But I still suspect that I like Weller Antique 107 better. Among all of the Weller Antique 107 single barrels that I've gotten over the years, I have always been impressed with each of them, especially considering I'm usually getting these at MSRP. Now, I've been wanting to do this comparison for a while, but some of the Weller Antiques that I still have bunkered still even have the screw top on them. So I didn't want to compare something from 2 different eras. So when Jonathan was able to secure me a Weller Antique single barrel, I knew exactly what I was going to do with these when I had the time to really sit down and analyze them. My general suspicions is that the reason that I like the Antique 107 better is that while yes, it is giving up proof points, I think the age on the Antique is usually higher than what's on the Foolproof. Completely unsubstantiated, but those have always been my suspicions. So we're going to get into Glass A, we're going to get into Glass B, and to help you follow along, I'm going to put a marker right here on which glass I am currently exploring. And by the end of this, I'll either confirm my suspicions or maybe take my rose-colored glasses off and admit maybe I'm wrong. If you're still here, be sure to hit that like and subscribe. And if you have a take on this particular topic, let us know in the comments as we go through this. All right, let's get into Glass A first. I'm going to go through the nose, then we'll get into the palates. Cheers, everybody. Glass A. One thing that always strikes me on Weller on the nose is that there is quite a bit of barrel spice on Weller. Throws me off sometimes when I think of it as a wheated bourbon compared to other references of wheated bourbons that I have that don't have that spice in that nose. Lots of baking spices though, nice layer of oak, a light cherry on this one. The cherry is not as vibrant as I'm used to sometimes on various Buffalo Trace products. The fruit itself is a bit more delicate, maybe even dabbling into like a white grape area versus an explicit cherry. That's a fun start though. Now let's get into glass number B. On the comparison to B, I even got a little hint of almost a floral note there, which was very surprising in the comparison. Baking spices are still there, though less spicy overall. Less oak presence, vanilla cream leaning next to those fruits. Off the nose, gravitating to A. A's got more of what I expected, though B has some interesting layers to it. More complex, I think, than A. So now let's get into the palate. Cheers, everybody. Let's go in for a first sip. Good first sip on A. That cherry really does come through on the palate. I'm still always convinced that that's the reason why Buffalo Trace is so popular to begin with. It's just that cherry note is such a great note. And even if people don't even distinctly recognize it as being a cherry note, I feel like cherry as a fruit is so inviting, and there's so many cherried flavor things that are always like my favorite varietal when it comes to different candies or even Pop-Tarts. Having that cherry note as the backbone of your DNA is always just such an advantage to Buffalo Trace. Man, up front on the palate too, there was this really nice light effervescence. Then in the transition to mid-palate was all about the baking spice and the cherry. And then the finish, getting this nice lingering oak along with the cherry as well. All right, A is setting the bar high. let's see what B's got to offer. Cheers, everybody. In for the first sip. More of a fruit bomb through and through. From mid palate to the finish, even front palate immediately. All I thought about was cherry and stone fruits. Let's go in for another sip. Let's see if I can get some complexity there. On second sip, getting that floral note that I was getting on the nose. That's interesting. More baking spices are coming through now than before. Less oak, though, than what I got on A. The fruits, though, are definitely more definitive and defined than it was on A. Now, if I were to guess based on what we've been talking about and where we are, and my preconceived notions of these bottles, I'd guess A is the Weller Antique and B is the Weller Foolproof. A is going to win this head-to-head comparison, but B did have a lot to offer, was actually a more complex pour in some ways as well, with more defined fruits and some floral aspects that were surprising. But A, with that effervescent up front, transitioning into the fruits and baking spices, transitioning into the oak, it's a more balanced pour through and through, and that's why it is getting elevated today. So let's find out if I am correct. We're going to reveal B first, and B was the Foolproof. All right, there we go. Not too surprising again. I think foolproof picks are younger than antique picks, and I typically gravitate on any wheat whiskey or any wheated bourbon. I want there to be more oak. I think oak is needed when you have wheat in your profile. So that leaves our winner A being the antique. I mean, once again, going forward, if someone offers me a foolproof pick and I don't have one on my bar, I'm going to say yes. It's probably something that I'm always going to keep stocked. If not for me, just for my guests who see the different Weller colors and they want to try them all. If I am ever left to my own devices on which one of these I'm going to pick, it's going to be the Weller Antique. So let me know if you're surprised by this at all. What is your favorite between these two brands? And if they were both on your shelf at your local for MSRP, but you could only buy one, which one would you buy? And just remember, while you can always find more whiskey, you can never have enough whiskey friends. So take care of those around you, and we will catch you on the next one. Goodbye, everybody.